Everyone, I am having a chicken picnic and it felt like a great place to come make my next video. Okay, so today I would like to talk about the power of self-talk. We talk to ourselves more during the day than we do anyone else in the whole wide world. And so I like to think that makes it very important, the conversations we're having with ourselves. The way we talk about ourselves lays the groundwork for how we allow other people to talk to us. So if we're already being really negative to ourselves, we're going to be less reactive to the fact that people are speaking negative about us. And we're going to take their words more personally and internalize it more because we already believe that about ourselves. The way we speak about ourselves is how we show up in the world. So if we're seeing ourselves as incapable and dumb and forgetful and clumsy and all these things, then how do you think we go showing up about our day to day? So imagine if you got so good at speaking very highly about yourself and then someone come along and said, I think you're just a big dumb idiot. You're not going to internalize that as much because you know who you are at your core. You don't allow yourself to speak that way. In fact, you're more than likely to say, hey, you don't get to speak to me that way. I don't. Why should you? Part of life is learning to be confident in ourselves and our ability to navigate the world. I speak about this frequently because I think it's the number one thing we have control over and that we can work on. It's that if we can start getting confidence in our ability to say, you know what? Something might happen in my day, but I am going to be able to handle it. Whatever it is, I am capable of handling it because that's how I speak about myself and that's how I see myself. Now, if I think about myself and say, I'm going to crumble under this pressure because I'm so anxiety ridden and I am just so broken and I have nothing left to give and there's no way I'm going to be able to handle this because I'm a hot mess and all I do is fall apart. Anything that happens in that day is just going to trip me up. I'm speaking from experience, by the way. I have been both girls, and I can assure you that you can get to be the girl where you are confident in your ability to manage life. You're confident in your ability to show up with whatever your day brings you. And a huge way to step back into that confidence is being very careful about how you talk to yourself. I do a lot of positive self-talk in the mornings and in the evenings, every single day. I don't miss a beat because it has improved my ability to be out in the world. There's a book I really love to read, and it's called The Hidden Messages in Water. And it's where a man takes all these different cups of water and speaks negative and positive things into them, and then freezes them and takes pictures of the crystals that are built in these waters. And the positive waters are these beautiful, like just gorgeous patterns. And the ones where are like, I hate you or anything negative, they look horrible. And we are made up of so much water that the way we speak to ourselves every day, we're changing our waters. If we're walking around saying negative things about ourselves, we're muddying the water. Learning to talk nicer to myself didn't just happen overnight. I had to actually bring to my awareness how mean I was actually being to myself and how often I would say my go-to phrases when I was being mean to myself was like, oh, you're such a hot mess, or God, get your life together. And the more I would bring it to my awareness that I said that, the more I would realize that me putting that out into the world was making it really hard for me to get my life together. And I was showing up a little bit like a hot mess because it's how I kept saying I was. And so the first step was for me to just start to simply pay attention to how many times a day am I talking bad about myself. It was an exhausting month of me just bringing it to my awareness because, whew, Lord, no one has ever been as mean to me as I am to me. Ever. And I probably think that it's probably the same for a lot of y'all out there. So once I started to seriously pay attention to how often was my negative self-talk taking over, then I really started to flip the script. I would immediately, as soon as I would be like, get your life together, I'd be like, you know what, you're doing a great job. You know, you really do know how to show up for life. You try your best. You are putting all of your efforts into this. You're putting a lot of energy into it. And a lot of times it would be just giving myself grace, like, hey, you're doing the best you can. That unconditional positive self-regard, which is a really hard thing to practice, I would argue more hard to practice on yourself than it is to others. It's that giving yourself the benefit of the doubt and believing that you're doing the best you can with giving what you have. And sometimes the best we can may fall short to our high expectations of ourselves, but that doesn't mean we're bad or that we should be saying anything bad about ourselves. And the only way to end up showing up more fully to our lives is to allow space for that and see yourself as possible, see yourself as capable, see yourself as someone who can thrive and can make great choices and can be organized. And that shift, which took several months and several very, very long talks with myself of saying, okay, we didn't do so great today, and that's okay. We're going to do better tomorrow. We're just going to keep trying. And a little bit over time, I switched the script. And now when the habit of wanting to talk bad about myself comes, I just very naturally am like, no, no one, and especially not me, will ever get to speak bad about myself. Talked about before, and I will probably talk about 100 times more, is that the more we can give ourselves that positive affirmation, the less we go seeking it from the outside world. And the more we can see ourselves as capable, the more we can actually go try things that we really dream about. And, whenever I sat and carried the narrative that I was a bad writer, I didn't try to write my book. I wasn't trying to write blogs. I wasn't trying to share my voice or my heart with the world because I was carrying around this narrative that I was bad at it. So why would I try? And now that I have said, you know what? I might have work to do. I'm not unrealistic. I may be a little delusional in my self-talk, but it helps. But I very much so keep it real and saying, I've come a long way as a writer. And the more I write, the better I'll get at it. And I am capable of expressing whatever it is I'm trying to say. And whoever this message is meant for is going to hear it. And it's going to help people. And even if there's some errors, it's okay. Because at the end of the day, I am still a human being. And I'm not putting perfectionism on myself. Never is positive self-talk to be confused with perfectionistic self-talk. I am showing up the best I can. And each day I show up the best I can, it's a little bit better than the day before. What more could I ask for? And something that really hit home for me with this is that I thought one day about how I would never speak to those I love the way I was speaking to myself. I would never say some of the things I was saying to myself to anyone I love. So why was I saying them to me? Make that make sense. So if you find yourself in a cycle of talking negative to yourself, let this be your reminder that life gets really, really beautiful and dreams and goals become so seeable when you can actually just speak highly and kindly and lovingly to yourself. You are so worthy of speaking love to yourself.